You're an enterprise leader who deployed Microsoft Copilot AI to help your team find the right information faster, but you seem to only get wrong answers. In this video, I explain exactly why you and the people in your organization are constantly getting frustrated with inconsistent or completely useless AI responses, and what you can actually do to fix it right now. If this sounds like you or someone you know, don't worry, you're not alone. The Wall Street Journal reported that early enterprise adopters of Copilot said the AI would hallucinate wrong answers, and that its integrations were not reliable or accurate. A UK government department ran a 3-month trial on Copilot with 1,000 licenses and published their findings publicly. You could take a look. The evaluation found no clear gain in productivity and found that some tasks actually took longer because the quality of Copilot's output was too low to be usable. Your team is experiencing something that has been documented at scale across industries, across countries. This is not a training problem. This is not a user problem. Microsoft Copilot was not built to be the most powerful AI available. It was built to be the safest, most controlled AI in the Microsoft ecosystem, which means every time someone on your team asks a question, the system is not just finding an answer. It is simultaneously checking permissions, applying compliance rules, filtering content, and pulling from your document libraries all at once. When any of those inputs is wrong or incomplete, and in most enterprise environments, at least one always is, the answer your employee receives just feels off. Or worse, it sounds correct, but it's actually not. Take a policy update your team uploaded yesterday. A manager asks Copilot about it this morning and receives the old version stated as current. Microsoft tells you documents sync in 2 to 3 hours. What builders and other people who have actually deployed this at enterprise scale know that in large environments, that sync can take up to 2 to 3 days, not 2 to 3 hours. So your people are making decisions on information that the system believes is current and is not. Or a department head asks a question that touches 2 documents at once and gets an answer that combines pieces of both into something that has never actually existed. So your team is not getting answers that are obviously wrong. They're getting answers that are almost right, sourced from real documents perhaps, stated as fact. That actually is a far more dangerous problem than AI simply says it doesn't know. So the people on your team have no way of knowing when Copilot is giving them an incomplete answer. There's no warning, there's no flag. The system delivers the response with complete confidence, regardless of whether it looked at 3 documents or 300. So every day that continues, your people are making decisions on information they have no reason to question. And every decision made on a wrong answer that sounded right is a problem your organization will eventually have to trace back, explain, or correct. You invested hundreds of thousands, if not millions, in this tool to reduce that kind of risk. Right now, it's quietly creating it. So the main problem with Microsoft Copilot is that you've invested, as I mentioned, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on how many seats you have, $360 per license. That's quite a bit of money and a huge investment. And you would think that out of such an enterprise tool, you would be able to get better responses and utilize the AI in a way that can actually access all of this information that's sitting in SharePoint or somewhere within your organization's intranet. Those are things that should be happening, but they aren't currently. And as I mentioned before, the inherent problem is that Microsoft Copilot is balancing a number of competing sort of preferences and priorities when it comes to delivering a response. And because of that, it tends to show itself very clearly that it's not giving the best response. What's actually happening is that the index is all wrong. So the way that Microsoft is actually taking the information behind itself within all the repositories, within your web pages, it's completely jumbled, it's completely confused, and it actually doesn't know how to prioritize this information in the responses. So that's another big way that you can make these adjustments, is to go in and force or define how Microsoft Copilot should actually respond. That's one big thing. The next is that the issue is, again, inherently that, the tools that people are going to, like ChatGPT or Claude, that could create risk within your organization as well. What a lot of end users are doing doing, because they've used tools outside of Microsoft Copilot, they know to some degree what the capabilities of a true AI tool or even like a slightly more powerful tool is than Copilot. And so what's happening is this is creating another institutional risk because people are taking your company's proprietary information or your company's, documents and things like that. And if you haven't set policy on that, then they're taking that information and feeding it into an outside source just so that way they could be more productive. That's a problem when this starts to happen. It can become systemic. This is how you end up leaking customer information. And of course, it depends on the maturity of your organization. But if you haven't put those controls in place, then that's where the real risk is. Now, the question goes back to why are users actually doing that? Well, and the obvious answer is that it's because Microsoft Copilot, again, has a really bad user experience. People expect that, hey, if I have all this information, all these documents, this SharePoint I know has this information, why can't the AI that's supposed to be really smart just go find those answers? It's a very simple request. And guess what? It's possible, and that's what we've built. Happy to share this information as well. Further, you can read about it more in the link below. But the main issue is that the problem sits with how the information is architected on the back end and how it's indexed. Microsoft Access or Microsoft in your organization already has all this context. It just has to know how to read it and how to sift through that information. So that's one of the biggest levers that you can pull, and why, as an organization, you don't want to just throw the baby out with the bathwater. You have all of this knowledge in your shared systems, in your folders, in your community drives. You want to put that to work. You don't want to have to build another tool on top of that. You actually just want Microsoft Copilot to work. That's a very sensible thing, and it can. And literally all you have to do is change how the underlying structure is configured. And once you do that, the results get more accurate. They're more relevant. The AI responses actually know how to prioritize information because you've trained it and because you've told it exactly what it should prioritize. It also has access to all the documents within your organization because you've defined which ones it has access to, which ones it should prioritize. And in addition to the documents, it can also read things like the intranet files, like .aspx website pages. So really, the fundamental thing that must be done in your organization is to tell the AI how to think, how to respond. And once you do that, you'll solve the problem. And again, happy to share more information on that, but it's one of the problems that we've been able to help companies of all sizes. It's not just this type of company in this industry. It could be, the most recent example is a $10 billion pharmaceutical company where they had an AI team, they had a technology team, and even though this was explained to them, it wasn't necessarily clear what that path was. And so we're happy to come in and show what that path is so that way you can get the most out of these tools that you're paying tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars to get. It's something that you would think should be already happening, but unfortunately, the technology that others have built has just far outpaced what Microsoft Copilot out of the box can do. And so it's just a matter of understanding how that's structured and then being able to make those changes. Really, it shouldn't take more than a few weeks, at max maybe like 6 to 7 weeks, but with few configuration changes, the way that this information is indexed and some rules that are written around how Microsoft should be reading your information, it will dramatically increase the productivity of your teams, of your organization, and being able to take the information that already exists and share that broadly with other teams within the organization or even just the people. It could also be that you take that information and use it to create other assets that might be customer facing, right? So there's so many things that once you get the core of the problem dealt with, then it's so much easier to distribute and to share that information to internal and external people. Again, link below if you'd like more information on how we actually executed this. Be happy to share the white paper and the use case of the $10 billion pharmaceutical company that we recently helped.